Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ. This is episode 135 of the Knife series, where I answer all your sharp and dull questions alike. This week, talking about a few things, of course, as always, but we're also looking at some fancy knives that are also fun to operate. Let's check them out. All right, everybody, welcome. If you're new to this series, here's the spiel that I give at the beginning of each episode. The questions we answer here are left in our comments section below these videos. So that's how you can submit your questions. If you have something you think might make a good topic to talk about, just leave it in that comments section below. First question today comes from Besser12V66. A serious/very serious question. I'll come back. Find me the perfect fidget knife, one with front and back flipper tabs, a cutout for thumb and middle finger flicks, and a finger safe lock so it can also wrist flick. Preferably a gent's knife. And with all these demands, it will be nice if it also has an edge. Thanks.
You ask too much.
You ask a lot. There are so few things, gentsy or not, that meet your criteria. That one comes to mind immediately, and beyond that, I literally went through our website, through every single finger safe lock we have to see what else I could find. And truthfully, there is only the one that really doesn't. I'll have some backup answers here for you, but none that really hit that formal knife requirement, that gentleman's knife requirement that you're talking about. But the one that does is this. It is the Kaiser Cormorant in the frag patterned titanium handle version of it. Coming in at about $179 with a 20 CV blade, 3¼ inches long, titanium handles, as you could see. No liners, just solid slabs of titanium, milled a little bit on the inside to take a little weight out. Really cool pocket clip, actually. Also titanium, also milled and deep carry. A kind of unusual combination of milled and deep carry together. I always like when we see it. And that is also reversible because we have the button lock here, which is finger safe, so you can do those flicky things, which works well on the left or the right hand side, so it's pretty cool to see. But I love the texture on the outside of that clip too. It's just really cool. This has all the opening methods you want. Not really tabs, but like flipper corners here on both the rear and the front. And even myself, who's still somehow is not terribly proficient at front flippers, I can still front flip that one, no problem. Wrist flicking, as you can see, no problem. Reverse flicking with the blade cutout and standard thumb operation, super, super nice. Is this gentlemanly? Is this a formal style knife? Beauty is, of course, in the eye of the beholder. For me, this might be a little too, what's the word, out there? But that's personal preference, quite honestly. I tend to prefer things that are very kind of sleek and refined and almost simple in a way sometimes. But again, personal preference. This is certainly the nicest knife that meets your criteria, the fanciest version out there. I will say, however, in those formal situations, don't go fidgeting with your knives. It makes all the other people nervous, and that's not a very gentlemanly thing to do in a formal situation. Exceptions I can think of are the Knife Center Christmas party.
I wouldn't call that formal.
Yeah, but we usually wear suits. Most of us do anyway. Well, Thomas's suit is rather a sad-looking affair, but that's no matter. So that's the one. That's the one gentlemanly thing that hits all of those requirements. It's a nice knife too. I own one of the Knife Center exclusive versions of this with 4V steel and linen micarta handles. Sadly discontinued, but it's a very cool knife. I enjoy it. There's honestly only two other knives that aren't gentlemanly but still hit those requirements too, and they're both Boss Steeds. One is the Thunderbird, which we don't have any here at the moment, but the other is the Valkyrie. Standard version's about $72 for a Nitro V blade. Again, 3¼ inches, almost the same as that Cormorant right there. Also a button lock, and there you go. You've got reverse flicking, you've got front flipping, which is a little less doable for me than on the Cormorant. No blade cutout, but reverse flicking on the thumb studs there is no problem whatsoever. It's funny that I messed up the forward flick there in that case. Deep carry pocket clip, inset with flush head screws, very nice. It is reversible. I picked the gray G10 version because it's the most like in color to the titanium versions. Not that it's a particularly gentlemanly look, but there you go. You can get it in that sheep's foot style blade or this Wharncliffe, modified Wharncliffe, which they call the sax blade. So that's a pretty cool knife. The Thunderbird is as well. Couple other things to look at that are slightly outside your scope. If you can deal without the front flipper, the Civivi Conspirator strikes me as a fun option. $83 for this Gaborsha wood version right here, Nitro V blade, 3.5 inches. It is finger safe, so you can flick it with the button lock. It flips really nicely, and you've got dual fullers in the blade, which actually reverse flick very, very satisfyingly. And it's really cool blade shape too. Once you do deploy it, you got a lot of slicey goodness in that blade overall. Thumb opening too, equally no problem. The other one that comes to mind as a non-front flipping but multiple opening option, slightly more formal design, is the SOG Terminus XR. This is the LTE version with the gold S35VN blade, but you can get less expensive. You can get the steel liner version with an uncoated S35VN blade. This one right here is like $145. The other S35 version with the uncoated blade is about $100. But the LTE version has carbon fiber liners instead of your standard carbon fiber. Deep carry pocket clip. The reason I picked the gold one here over the uncoated version is this color pocket clip might blend in better with a pair of khakis, if that's what you're wearing. The other version is a shiny clip that's kind of gonna stand out no matter what you're wearing. But you've got a flipper tab, hard to pull off with a crossbar lock, but SOG does it pretty well. You've got wrist flickiness, you've got thumb flickiness and reverse flickiness. A little bit trickier for me on that one, but also works well. Maybe a little more tactical feeling, but you can check that one out as well. Hope that helps. Now, you did, at the beginning of your statement there, say this might be a very serious question, which of course, longtime viewers will know is our cue to take things snarkily. Got one other thing for you that might do it. The Civivi Incisor 2. It's satin gray aluminum, kind of gentlemanly, a little bit. We have a button lock, so you can do that thing quite nicely. You've got a flipper tab. You've got a thumb and finger cutout. You've got a pocket deployer, which none of these guys have so far. That's another option. And that thing also works as a front flipper. Check that out. Gentlemanly enough for you? Next question comes from Neil Valley. DCA, need a judgment call here. I cannot freehand sharpen. I've tried for years and I accept my limitations. Right now I'm using a Lansky Deluxe system and wondering what I should pick as an upgrade option. Needs to be proficient at EDC folders, kitchen knives, and medium fixed blades. May I direct your attention to this unit right here. This is the Professional Precision Adjust from Worksharp. It's honestly something that's gotten a lot of hype this year, ourselves included. We've shown it off here, but it's certainly a situation where I think the hype is deserved because it is a nice upgrade to the less expensive clamped systems. It is sitting on a base. It is highly adjustable, and the price on it is about $250. Not cheap, but definitely less expensive than the more premium guided systems out here. And it does a lot of good stuff. It has its own dedicated table for sharpening very small blades. Thomas actually demonstrated how this would look on a Case Peanut, tiny little bladed knife. It was a Peanut, wasn't it?
Probably.
I think it was.
Too small.
It works on big knives. I mean, check out the throw on the arm right there. And it works really well. It has a digital angle guide, which I really like because you can set your angle here, but if your knife blade is longer, it's actually gonna change the actual angle. So you can find the exact angle with that, which is really cool. But I'm gonna let Thomas say sum up what you think about this. Because what we did, we actually did a shootout between this unit and my electric knife grinding sharpening apparatus and Seth's manual freehand waterstones out there. And I won't spoil the results of that shootout. We'll leave a link to it here. Right? Yes. Right there. And before we actually do the shootout, Thomas goes through all of the nice features of this so you can get a more in-depth look at it. But what do you say?
It is the best sharpener that I have used. But if our questioner is upgrading from a Lansky, I would consider the basic version. That should handle most knives, and maybe a large chef knife might struggle a little bit. I'd say go for that, and it's a lot easier to learn how to strop.
True. I'm going to disagree with you actually on the base model, because that's probably going to sit around the same kind of capabilities and price range of some of the Lansky stuff, quite honestly. But valid point, even if I disagree.
You're allowed.
Well, there is the standard precision adjust, which I think, what's the price on those nowadays? About $60. Comes with 3 grits. You don't get as many grits as you get with this. You don't get the stropping attachment here. You don't get the same kind of stability or adjustability of that. I think if you're looking for like an actual upgrade, a significant upgrade, maybe consider this. But the base unit is pretty good too. It can't do stuff quite as well as this can do, even as big of a fan I am of it.
The base unit, and when you upgrade, you just gift that.
There's always that option too. All right, Thomas and I are going to agree to disagree here, but check out the Worksharp-based units like this, for sure. Next question comes from Giugana. I'm almost ready to pull the trigger on the Wharncliffe MKM Makro. Very cool knife. However, I would actually like to see a comparison with the Boker AK1, mainly in the grip, comfort, and blade geometry departments, keeping in mind that money is a factor. Which would you recommend? Here are the 2 knives right here. They live in a genre of knife I happen to be particularly fond of, and that is the pocketable everyday carry fixed blade, the pocket fixed blade. I can see why these are catching your eye for a potential comparison, because they are, they have some certain similarities, but the prices are wildly different on it. Let me start with the MKM. This one right here is the KnifeCenter exclusive version with the red lava fat carbon scales, coming in about $175, but base price on this with handle scales on it for Makro, we're dealing like $155, which, as we'll find out, is a lot cheaper than the Boker. For that, you've got a roughly 3-inch blade of M390 steel, stone-washed finish, a little bit on the thicker side. Jesper Wagner's design, very cool angular shape to it that still feels good in the hand. On the other side of the coin, we have the Boker AK1, made in Solingen, Germany. This is the least expensive version of it right now, which is $326. So quite a big jump. What are you getting? You've got a 3-inch blade, just over 3 inches in this case, of RWL 34. And the handles here are grenadille wood. A couple different handle scales are available. And you have a lanyard attachment, kind of bail almost at the back, which can actually be reversed. Take the scales off, you can flip this around so this sits flush instead, which is kind of interesting. How do the two compare? Well, the Boker will give you just a little bit more in blade length and handle length. As for feel in the hand, for me, they're both fine. I kind of like the Boker, honestly, a little bit better. It's maybe a little bit more neutral than the MKM, but taken in isolation, this MKM is perfectly fine. It feels good in the hand. It can manipulate quite well, or you can manipulate the blade quite well with it. Here though, blade geometry, it depends on what you want going for it. If you want something that you can use and indiscriminately, hammer on it, pry with it maybe in a pinch, the MKM will give you a little bit more there, even though, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Whereas if you want just more efficient, more precise slicing efficiency, the Boker there, a little bit thinner. Grind is pretty much the same height on both of them, but of course we're dealing with different thicknesses there. That Boker is just going to give you a more pleasant, more efficient slicing experience. So wherever your priorities lie, I would go in that direction. I was going to throw in a little bit of a weedy comment there. Yeah, we might as well. RWL 34 is essentially CPM 154. The edge will not last as long, theoretically, as the M390 on the MKM, but the Boker will be a little bit tougher with its RWL 34, so less prone to deformation, bending, cracking under shock, that sort of thing. But to counteract that a little bit, you do have the extra thickness of the MKM, giving this design a little more strength than if it were thinner, even though the steel itself, the alloy-wise, is not as tough between the two. Last but not least, let's talk about the sheaths. If you want to hold the knife in your left hand pocket, it's got to be the MKM, because we've got and here I go putting it in right side style, magnetic pocket sheath. Really cool design. You slip the sheath in your pocket, the magnetic flap holds it on the outside, kind of like a pocket clip, and this sheath is completely ambidextrous, so it works either way. Whereas on the Boker, it is a right-handed pocket sheath. The ulti-clip is fixed in place there, and I should also say the ulti-clip will definitely hold the knife in your pocket more securely than a magnet will, but it will tear up your pockets more if you don't need that kind of ultimate retention. So a lot of things to consider between the two. Price-wise, between the two, I like the sliciness of the Boker, but it is, near as dang it, twice as expensive. So you'll have to decide how much that's worth it to you. I'd still be perfectly happy carrying this Makro right here, especially the exclusive. But hey, that's biased. All right, now we come to our lightning round for today. First question's from Jamie Paradise. Who was it that said a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife? It's lost to the sands of time. It's just one of those adages at this point. When I fidget with or do something foolish with a dull knife, it just bounces off me, but a sharp knife takes a bite. I didn't cut myself until I got into good sharp knives. What are your thoughts on this old adage?
Stop doing foolish things with
Stop
these sharp
doing
knives.
foolish things with knives. You shouldn't be doing anything with a knife that's dull or sharp that is making it bounce off of you. I would argue that's if we were in my Boy Scout days back in the day, we'd get corners cut off our totem chip and get our knife taken away from us at that point. But I think where this adage comes from is it is less work to cut something with a sharp knife than it is with a dull or duller or even completely dull knife. But the duller thing is, the more you have to work, the more you exert yourself, the more clumsy things become. And that's going to cause more instances of potentially cutting yourself with that duller edge. And then when you do cut yourself, that duller edge will leave a more ragged cut, whereas a more clean cut from the sharper knife will heal more quickly and with less scarring. So that's why the dull knives, when you do really mess up with a dull knife, provided it still has some cutting ability, is going to be a messier situation overall.
Don't do anything foolish with it.
Stop hitting yourself with your knife edge. Like, come on, man. Next question, Psycho Kaiju. I would like to get an OTF, but the offset blades make the knife nerd in me cringe. I understand it's because of the hardware required, but are there any OTFs that have a centered blade? Also, I noticed you never really show the blade slot in your reviews. Any reason? Really dig your show, man. Keep up the great work. Thank you. We will. I know what you're talking about. Here we go. Microtech Ultratech, kind of the unofficial mascot of the lightning round. Slot for the OTF blade out the front blade is off center. And the reason I don't talk about this in reviews or in presentations when we're talking about these is they're all like that. So it's almost not worth even mentioning. That's just the nature of the beast. Until the Benchmade Shootout was foisted upon us. Here is one of the new limited editions that dropped a couple days ago from when this video is posting. And there you go, check it out. Centered blade. Very cool. That's the only one I know of, quite honestly. It works well, works just the same as anything else. I also really like the handles on the shootouts. But if that doesn't do it for you, everything else, like I said, kind of does it. All right. Maybe I will start talking about it when I present knives, but maybe not.
Not today, at least.
Well, I kind of did.
But now you're done.
Trace Living Good. I have developed some patina on my crewware blade, and I'm wanting to put an acid etch and a stone wash on it. Would these small rust patina spots cause any problems while acid etching and stone washing my blade? Can they turn it into rust underneath a stone washed finish? Here we go. I have a crewware blade here, just by way of an example. Paramilitary too. I don't think so. Caveat, I've never tried it. But think, when you're doing an acid etch, you're essentially forcing a patina. So I don't see how it would really be any different than the patina you're putting on it versus the patina that's already there. Perhaps if anyone else out there has tried this, you could let us know in the comments. But be careful when you go to stone wash the thing, because you're gonna lose some fine details like the tip right here, which then you're gonna have to go in and repair that when it's over. Because when most knife companies, when they stone wash their blades, they actually leave a little bit of an extra tab right here so that you don't lose the tip, and then they grind that off after it's stone washed so they can put the final edge on it. You also might run into some problems with the tang area of the blade. Could get polished or rough or something. I don't know. Never tried that specifically. But I do know that the tip, just be prepared for that. Godspeed, though. Have fun modding it. I'm curious to see how it does for you if you go ahead and do this. Make sure to leave us a comment. Now we come to our final question of the day, which is, of course, our most serious question of the day, which comes today from Ian's Clone. Hey, KC crew. In this Knife AQ installment, DCA stated that the Carcass Splitter, I forget which video he posted this on, but he's talking about our Carcass Splitter. Stated that the Carcass Splitter is the unofficial mascot of the KnifeCenter. I appreciate that, but in my humble opinion, a knife retailer's mascot should carry a knife. What knife would the Carcass Splitter carry? Let's ask him. Haven't seen the old boy in a little while. Oh, and look at this. He happens to be carrying something today. What is it, oh Carcass Splitter? It is the Carlitos, it's dangerous, neck hatchet from Condor. As you can see, it works really well in that neck configuration right there, and it channels the spirit of the Carcass Splitter writ small, I would say. About $42.5, 1075 carbon steel. Ready for your everyday carry neck hatchet needs, should they arise. Good choice there, Carcass Splitter. Well, that's all we have for today. Thanks for your questions, and keep them coming. If you want to get your hands on any of these products, check out the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com, where we've been proud to be offering for years our Knife Rewards program, where when you buy one of these knives, you can earn up to 5% back towards a future one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.